All right, and welcome into the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast, Week 9 Reaction Edition. It was a Sunday when we saw two one-win teams taste victory. The hot seat for several coaches was warmed, and we saw some big-time performances from the game's biggest stars. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock. I'm joined by maybe the coolest-looking orthopedic sports surgeon in the game. His resume includes training at institutes like Stanford and Harvard. Dr. Deepak Chona. How you doing, Doc? Happy Sunday. How are the vibes hitting tonight?
Vibes are good. We're still recovering from a big Thursday beatdown, but we are feeling good overall, man. Good to join y'all.
Yeah, glad to have you on as always, man. And we're also joined by the Heinz Ward to my Big Ben, the Batman to my Robin, analyst Scott Bogman. What's up, man? How are we feeling post-daylight savings time?
Yeah, weird. I was in Arizona for so long that we don't do daylight savings in Arizona, so it feels weird every year to switch the clock and all of that stuff. But we got the extra hour. Steelers want to buy, so relaxed week here for us, Seth. So yeah, we're feeling pretty good about this week. Weird. Some of these games were very weird.
Relaxed and rested still, and we have an absolutely loaded program for y'all tonight, including the injury recap with Deepak. Plus, we're going to be doing the game breakdowns for all 12 games played on this glorious Sunday afternoon. Thanks to everyone who watches or listens to each episode. We greatly appreciate it. We see the numbers. We are grateful for them. If you enjoy this type of content, please give this video a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel on the Fantasy Pros platform, as well as our audio platforms. In addition to that, it's the easiest way to support us here and all the work we're doing at Fantasy Pros. And gentlemen, let's do it. Let's get to the injuries. It's always a sour note, but it's one we must talk about. Starting in New Orleans, where wide receiver Chris Olave suffers his second concussion of the season against Carolina. Deepak, this was an absolutely terrifying hit. The former Buckeye was motionless for a moment. He's since been checked and released from the hospital. But what does this mean for Olave? He has now suffered 4 concussions in the NFL and 1 in 2020 back in his time with the Buckeyes.
Yeah, in the short term, it's all very reassuring that he's been released. He had full motion of all his extremities. In the sort of grander picture here, one most likely multi-week absence is what you would think given his concussion history.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, it's kind of like the conversation that was had with Tua, a little less high profile with Olave, but it's kind of the same idea, being that these concussions probably give you a cumulative risk of long-term brain injury. Now, what does that mean in the short term? My guess is he comes back. He's pretty young and probably within the next few weeks, but I wouldn't expect him out there in week 10 for sure.
Okay, Boggs, 2 questions for you. If you're a dynasty manager of Olave, do you have any concern because of these concussions? And second, in redraft, where do we go with this Saints offense for fantasy points aside from Alvin Kamara with no Olave? We know Rashid Shaheed already out for the season.
Yeah, you probably go to Taysom Hill or another team, honestly.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot going on in New Orleans right now. And, Derek Carr's getting his feet back under, but Mason Tipton he led that team in snaps and didn't get a catch today. So just not a lot of production around there. Foster Moreau caught the touchdown. But yeah, in Dynasty, you have to be concerned when it's stacking like this. And, it's a sell low point. I would try to hold on to him if I could and see if he wraps up the season well, and then do something probably after that, because you don't want to sell too low. But if you need an asset and someone's offering you 75 cents on the dollar, you might want to think about it, especially if you need that spot and he's going to miss an extended period of time. And like Deepak said, he's got to think about long-term stuff now. Probably is going to stick it through, but you got to at least have that conversation.
Trade deadlines are on the horizon in dynasty leagues, especially. So if you're a buyer, if you're a seller, figure that out soon. Keep your head on a swivel as we go down the stretch and make sure we're making some moves there to put yourself in position for either a stretch run here in 2024 or a better 2025. Looking back here at this week, though, Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Drake London leaves this game with a hip injury. Deepak, London has missed just 1 game in his 2.5 seasons as a pro, kind of an Iron Man out there. Can you tell us what this injury may be? And if it is that injury, how much time he might miss because of it?
Yeah, the video showed that he landed pretty forcefully directly onto the hip. So we usually call that a hip pointer. It's painful, but it's stable in the sense that it can kind of be played on. Typically, what you do see is 1 week about is what it takes to get back. So he has a pretty good chance actually to come back next week. Again, just the fact that it's stable means it's all about how his symptoms progress. And this is similar to what Anthony Richardson had going on earlier in the year. So typically don't expect the 1 week absence, but that would be kind of on the borderline.
Okay, Bogman, we know Darnell Mooney. He's been a revelation this season. It's been super fun to watch. And Kyle Pitts, he's up or down. If you're playing him at tight end, you're probably still playing him at tight end. The only other option out there on waiver wires would be Ray McLeod. Based on what Deepak said, we're not expecting London to miss any time, maybe a little bit of time. With that being said, are you going after the former Steelers return man there?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, Ray has a good career and he's a nice injury fill in. But if this isn't an extended period of time, I'm not going to burn fab on Ray. So still a productive guy, especially in a deep, if you're in a 20-man league.
Yeah,
good look. Something like that. I have a couple of 16s where he's definitely, floating around there. So he's a good option, but you would think Kyle Pitts would get more, but 1 catch for 11 yards today and hip. Yeah. And he went out pretty early with this hip injury. So it's not a lot for Pitts. It was all about Bijan today.
Yeah, absolutely agreed with you there. Looking at some more injuries from this week. In that same game, Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, he was rolled out with a hamstring injury. Kind of a weird situation because we also saw some images coming from the sideline with his hand extremely swollen. What's going on in Big D here with their signal caller, Deepak?
Yeah, this one's a little more concerning in the sense that he said he felt a pull in his hamstring area, pretty indicative of a strain here. And the average on those is a 2-week absence. So with that being said, the players over 30 have a little higher recurrence rate, a little slower return as well. So he's getting an MRI tomorrow, and then we'll know a little bit more about true severity, but this one is probably going to cost him at least 1 or 2 weeks.
With that being said, Bogman, first question for you. Are we dropping Dak Prescott in 1 quarterback leagues? He's been pretty miserable so far this season. And if your IR spot is filled, or if you don't have IR spots, are you really rostering him here, you think?
And look, I at this point in the season, if someone is not producing for you, if they're hurt and your record is, on a razor's edge here, dump anybody. And Dak is in that group. If you need to move on from him to get another quarterback that'll work for you, I am all for it. So it's not my favorite move. I still think that offense is running through Dak, but if Dak is going to miss an extended period of time, we can quit wasting our time here.
And what does this mean in the interim if we have Cooper Rush at quarterback? We have players who have been meaningful for fantasy lineups, although somewhat disappointing this season. CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert, and Rico Dowdle, who's just white hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, I love that Dowdle got all of that, run with Zeke being on late guy suspension or whatever they wanted to call it here. Yeah, I mean, these guys take a hit, but Cooper Rush is a capable backup, and they don't change the playbook a lot for him either. So I think Cooper Rush is going to be okay in producing for these targets.
Maybe Zeke just forgot to set his clock forward, but did that 7 days early or something.
You missed 3 meetings.
Yeah.
Can't blame it on one clock event. So.
Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. Some more injury news here. Brian Robinson Jr. inactive with a hamstring injury. He was expected to play, then was inactive after the Commanders didn't like what they saw in warmups. Deepak, what does this mean for Robinson Jr.'s future availability? We know he was already dealing with a knee injury prior to these hamstring concerns, and we know what these last-minute hamstring concerns usually mean for guys like T. Higgins that haven't been out there for a couple weeks after these pop up.
Yeah, you're right. Now, his progression, he practiced all week and then was expected to play. Strongly suggests he's pretty close and probably will be ready for their next game. So Brian Robinson, right. I'm actually relatively optimistic despite today's result.
Okay. Boggs, if Robinson misses some time, wheels up on Austin Eckler, I imagine we're not picking up guys like Chris Rodriguez Jr., who did see 11 carries. Jeremy McNichol saw 9 touches as well here off the waiver wire. Imagine we're just kind of staying packed there in Washington.
Yeah, it's Eckler because while I don't like the split because Rodriguez and Eckler had the same amount of snaps, so I don't particularly love that. And I think carries, they both had 11 carries, I think. It's Eckler. Eckler is the guy that gets the touches. He's the guy in the passing game. So if Robinson's down again, yeah, wheels up on Eckler for sure.
Okay. And before the games this weekend, Deepak, we did hear from San Francisco 49ers general manager John Lynch. He said he hopes to open Christian McCaffrey's 21-day practice window on Monday. Does this finally end the saga of the 101? And if so, do you expect him to be ready for fantasy managers here as early as next week? Or is this maybe a week 11 type situation?
I would say week 10 or 11 is the most likely outcome here. I'm actually kind of leaning towards week 10. And the reason for that is he's been ramping up for actually quite a while now. So his average ramp up period usually lasts 4 to 6 weeks for tendonitis. So that would place him right about now. And if we see him return to a full practice this week, that's when I would certainly feel pretty comfortable playing him. If he's only limited this week, then I would think they're going to wait until week 11.
Bogman, it has been weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks that we've
been
waiting
for the war in House of the Dragon to start. Let's just get this rolling, please. I continue to not really buy what San Francisco is selling us here. I hope it's week 10. I have no idea. And Deepak, what kind of pitch count are we going to be on with CMC to start if he is good to go week 10?
Yeah, I think that is the real issue, is that he's likely to be on a real committee type backfield here. They have Jordan Mason, they have Garendo as well. So you don't really have a huge ton of pressure to just force feed McCaffrey like they normally do. The other thing is that Shanahan's come out and said basically that's their plan, is to split the touches and not get carried away, kind of be so to speak, disciplined about using him, because it's easy to use a guy who's that good. So I think we're going to see a real pitch count, but also a very efficient performer. So I do think if you drafted him with the 101, probably he's worth at the very least a flex play. If he's active, I'm playing him.
Yeah, I think I would do that too, because I mean, for as long as he's been in the league, we've heard coaches say we got to get him fewer touches. He can't be in the game this late. He can't have this much rest. And they never do it because when the game's on the line, he's the best player and they put him back out there. So I'm with Deepak with that for sure. If CMC is on the field, he is in my lineup every single time.
What about Jordan Mason? What does this do for his value? Where do you think you'll have him in your rankings next week if we do see CMC maybe go at a full practice at least once this week, Boggs?
Yeah, I think probably as a low-end RB3, somewhere in that neighborhood. He's going to be fairly touchdown dependent if Christian McCaffrey is ready to go.
Okay, and Deepak, before we let you go, we did see wide receiver A.J. Brown leave the Eagles game with a knee injury. Any speculation on that?
Yeah, looking at the video, he took a hard hit and then he landed on his knees. It was a little surprising because from the video itself, it didn't really look that bad. There was no major bend or anybody landing on him.
Okay.
Now, that's all reassuring, but of course, he was ruled out relatively quickly in the second half. So it makes you think either one of those knees swelled up on him, could have been a sprain potentially of a PCL type ligament, but my suspicion is you're probably dealing with a lower severity issue here. Most likely they get an MRI tomorrow and then we find out a little more after that.
Okay, Bogman, do you have anything else here for Deepak before we let him go and get back to his busy schedule?
Yeah, how about Lamb and Coleman? I think both these guys came back and finished out the game, but is there any worry about, this blowing up during practice time and all that stuff?
CeeDee Lamb did not look good. He did not look healthy at the end of that.
Yeah. He looked like he was in pain. He also did catch a 2-point conversion. So he can still play just because he's such an elite performer. But he landed twice on his shoulder and he was holding it. It looked like he was in a lot of pain, as you said. So that indicates probably an AC joint sprain. Because he was able to come back, my suspicion is he's going to just keep playing through this, and you can get an injection right in that area to help with the pain for some period of time. So all of those things kind of considered, I would expect him to be limited in practice this week. I would anticipate him playing, and you do have a little bit elevated risk of re-injury. And we saw this a couple of weeks ago with Jordan Mason, had an AC joint sprain and then came back the next week and kind of re-injured it. So a little bit of risk here for CeeDee Lamb, but I do expect him to be active. Then regarding the Bills' Keon Coleman, he took a pretty hard hit to the wrist area as he was trying to catch the ball. And that after the game at the press conference, he had a brace on. So really no indication on what that means. It could be anywhere from fractured to sprained. And there's a little bit of hesitation just because Amari Cooper on same team has a wrist injury, just sat out today. So, they may be a little bit conservative with these. So we'll find out a little bit more as he progresses. His practice participation is going to be the key there.
Bogman, hearing that news, is there anyone off the waiver wire you're considering for the Cowboys or for the Bills? I feel like Jalen Tolbert rostered in most competitive leagues at this point, along with Khalil Shakir. So I don't see a lot of pivot options off the waivers unless you want to get, real weird and go Mac Hollins or something.
No, I mean, Mac Hollins caught a touchdown, right? So
yeah.
he'll be seeing more, but I think most of those targets will go to Shakir and Kincaid and probably Knox. And I mean, we got to get Ray Davis more on the field.
He's a unit.
He needs the ball way more. What a touchdown in this game, by the way. But I feel like I feel like we're pretty safe ignoring most of those options.
Okay. All right. Well, Deepak, thanks so much for joining us, not just this Sunday, but every Sunday night here on the FantasyPros Fantasy Football Podcast. Let us know where we can find you. Sports MD Analysis. I know you're doing a ton of work there on Twitter, but I know you're on a ton of platforms and got a lot cooking here this season.
Yeah. Like you said, Twitter is kind of home base. And then we have our website is like our storage base for everything you can search through at sportsmetaanalytics.com. And then we're on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, so you can find us anywhere and also here every week.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much as always, Deepak. Make sure you guys are following along with him throughout the remainder of this season and into next season as well. And stick around after the drop because we'll be right back with here all our game recaps. So stick around. Thank you.
Have you ever felt like you're just guessing when you're placing a bet? Look, we've all been there, hoping for that big win, but lacking the confidence to back our picks. Well, what if I told you that you could turn those hunches into winning strategies? Betting Pros will transform you from the casual bettor into a betting pro. First up, meet the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet and Prop Bet Analyzer. Sync your fantasy league with Betting Pros by signing into your FantasyPros account and review your players' weekly props with all the historical data right at your fingertips, and you'll be able to make confident over-under decisions. You'll be ready to dominate all those prize picks and underdog pick'em leagues with our exclusive prop projections and correlated picks that will empower you to build data-driven pick'em parlays. Say goodbye to the guesswork and hello to strategic betting. And if you have a gut feeling about a player or a team's performance, with our betting systems and our system builder, you can turn that intuition into a profitable system. Create your own betting system for free and receive ongoing bets that match your criteria all season long. This all sounds great, right? The best part, though, is that you can get a free trial of Betting Pros Premium right now. If you've never had Betting Pros Premium, just head over to bettingpros.com/apps and download the Betting Pros sports betting app and activate your free trial on the upgrade screen. Start your journey to becoming a true betting pro today.
All right, let's start the game recaps in Hotlanta, where the Falcons beat the Cowboys 27-21. It's a game where fantasy managers are left wondering, what if? What if Dak doesn't get hurt? What if Algier doesn't continue to vulture Bijan Robinson? Boggs, we already discussed the injury fallout from this game with Deepak. Do you have any other major takeaways?
I mean, I guess just that they are moving more away from Tyler Algier, but he's going to get those goal line carries. Bijan did a lot of work in this game. So when you're down at the goal line with the monsters, they put in Algier. At least they have recently. So only 14 snaps for Algier to 42 for Bijan.
Wow.
So it's something that probably will continue to happen, but Bijan is still super, super productive. Like you said before, Darnell Mooney with the big step up. I mean, he's been big the whole year. Put this dude with a good quarterback and look at how great he has been. So just a great performance from him again. Hopefully we get Drake London back. And then on the Cowboys side, Seth, let's just keep giving Dowdle the ball. Let's just cut Zeke. Why do we need Zeke on this team? He doesn't do anything. He doesn't bring anything to the table. He doesn't show up to the meetings. Go get somebody else. There's someone up off the wire that would be better than Zeke, I feel like. So get rid of him and let's keep giving the ball to Rico Dowdle, because with a big usage like this, 17 touches, he had over 100 yards. He scored a touchdown, 55 snaps in this game out of 76. Dalvin Cook only had 6. So I think this is what we need to be doing if we're the Cowboys. Let's roll Rico out here.
Coming into the season, I kind of thought Rico was just a jag, honestly, just a guy. And
yeah,
I feel like he's a pretty decent player. Like, I don't think he's anything special, but with the opportunity, he's been really good. RB7 so far this season. He was the RB3 overall in week 5 against a good Pittsburgh front. Rest of season, Nick Chubb or Rico Dowdle?
Ooh, yeah, I think I'm going to go Rico, especially if Dak does miss some time. They're going to rely on that run game a little bit more, so we could see increased carries for him. That's a tough one because Chubb is a monster, but I like Rico, and I think Zeke needs to be gone. The only reason they would keep him is because he's Dak's best friend, I feel like, so or whatever their relationship is. But if the guy doesn't show up to meetings, you're not playing him. Get rid of him. There's no reason to keep rostering him.
ETN or Dowdle?
Yeah, Dowdle.
Dowdle.
Not nearly as close.
I think I'm there as well. I have so many regrets, dude, of not drafting Darnell Mooney. I mean, wide receiver 13 on the season, currently wide receiver 6 on the week, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football pending, of course. But man, he's so good right now. He's so good.
There's so many of those highlights going into this offseason where you would see him shake a defender, be wide open, sticking his arm up, and the ball never comes his way because they just were not looking deep. But Kirk throws that ball deep. He'll sling it. So great year for Mooney.
Would you go out and just try to buy high if you don't have him already? Or do you think it's probably too much to get him at this point?
I think with the London injury, he's probably going to be a little bit too high, but never hurts to ask. You never know. Maybe someone thinks they're selling too high on him or something. So yeah, I think if I could get him for cheaper than market value, which should be pretty high right now, I would do it for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Call up your friends. Black Friday's coming up. Maybe you can make a little deal. Maybe, send them a pack of Busch Light and some Zins or something, and maybe sweeten that deal. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. But moving to New Jersey, the Giants fall to the Commanders 27-22. This is a game that was really fun, honestly, compared to previous installments of this rivalry. Over 300 yards of offense on both sides. Pretty modest day for Jaden Daniels, 15 for 22, 209, and 2 through the air, 8 for 35 on the ground. Yet he continues to score fantasy points, 20 fantasy points. And Terry McLaurin, kind of same deal, just 2 catches, but 2 touchdowns for 19 yards. Where do you rank this Washington quarterback and wide receiver one rest of season? Don't look now. They're 7-2.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels is a QB1 moving forward. I mean, just the threat with the legs is there every single week. McLaurin, probably wide receiver 2. He's not getting the yards. I mean, at least he didn't this week. The 2 touchdowns obviously made all the way up for it, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, they're both very, very good. So Jaden Daniels, QB1, Terry McLaurin, at least a wide receiver 2. This offense is humming even without Brian Robinson, and Brian Robinson, hopefully, like Deepak said, back next week. We like it. I mean, Washington is thriving right now. Tough matchup against Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Lamar and Josh Allen are probably the only 2 quarterbacks I would really rather have above Jaden. Like, is there Hurts? Maybe not Hurts. Like, that's the only other guy I think you could potentially say, right?
Yeah, I think matchups you could look at, and maybe there's some other guys you would sneak over him. But I mean, he is an absolute stud, and he is making everything we thought we were going to get from Richardson. We're getting from Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and he's staying healthy. He's learning to slide in the big leagues, which was one of my biggest fears. And so, yeah, shout out to Cliff Kingsbury. I know that year off probably did him well over there. I know
now that he doesn't have to handle timeouts and decision making on anything else but offense, he's pretty solid.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Jones on the other side of this game actually looked pretty decent at home for once. That was great to see. And he's giving legit value to his wide receivers. Malik Neighbors, 9 for 59 on 11 targets. So kind of a down game for one of the best wide receivers in the game. But Darius Slayton, 3 for 49 on 3 targets, 1 for 11 on the ground. And then we also saw Wan'Dale Robinson. He had a touchdown that was called back, didn't end up getting in the end zone there, but 3 for 10 on 4 targets. Am I wrong, but do I think all 3 wide receivers for the Giants need to be rostered?
Yeah, Slayton annoys me so much, but there's no doubting
he's a good ball player, dude. He's been
when he catches the ball, he'll be wide open and drop it. That's the thing that annoys me about Darius Slayton. But Wan'Dale is getting a lot of targets. Malik Neighbors is the most targeted guy like every single week. And Tyrone Tracy has been solid, and I wasn't sure if he was going to play because of the concussion, but made it back in time and looked good again against a defense that's been playing pretty well in Washington. So, this offense, there are pieces to roster from even Theo Johnson caught his first touchdown, right? First game over 50 yards as well, and beating everybody in snaps. So I thought maybe Bellinger would hold him at bay for a little bit because he's such a good blocker, but Manhurts caught the touchdown ahead of Bellinger. Bellinger, I think, was third in snaps. Theo was first by a ton of snaps here, 55 for him. Manhurts had 16, Bellinger had 14. So if you're looking for a tight end, you can look in worse spots than seeing Theo Johnson right now.
Especially in some tight end premium leagues. Hopefully he's already probably rostered in most dynasty leagues, but we can't forget this is the most athletic tight end we've ever seen test at the combine. I'm pretty sure I did like a 9.99 RAS score or a 10.0. So get
Seth
him.
Loves his Penn State boys.
Hey, he is he's no Tyler Warren, but he'll do for sure. What do we do with Devin Singletary though here for the Giants? I mean, feels like he's kind of just back to clogging roster. 7 for 33 in this one, as opposed to Tracy, who saw 16 for 66 on the ground and 1 for 3 through the air. And even though he wasn't 100%, he still looks sensational compared to Singletary.
I hope he gets traded, but I think right now it's okay to cut him because Tyrone Tracy is their guy. If you want to keep him as handcuffed, if you're rostering both of them, I understand that as well. But yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot of meat on the bone after all the guys we just mentioned and Tracy. So, and Daniel Jones ran in a touchdown here. So it's tough for Singletary right now.
Next week, though, I will say they play Carolina and Germany. So, I mean, you're definitely firing up Tyrone Tracy, and probably I think you got to at least put maybe a quarter.
Most healthy players. Yeah.
yeah. Bet that anytime TD for sure as well next week. Anything else for this game? I think we've kind of ran through it pretty well.
Nah, we can move on to the next one.
Okay. In Cleveland, the dog pound probably better off staying at home this week as they fall to 2-7 following the 27-10 loss to the Chargers. 3 picks and a fumble for Jameis Winston, but still targeted the heck out of his playmakers here. Cedric Tillman, 11 targets, 6 receptions, 75 yards, and 1 touchdown. Wide receiver 7 on the week if it holds, his 3rd straight wide receiver 1 performance. Is he a legit league winner at this point? Do we have to have that conversation?
Yeah.
And are you still feeling good about Judy and Njoku as, secondary options flexes at this point?
I've never felt good about Judy. So probably not still. Better than when he was with Watson for sure. But I like Njoku, and Tillman has been outstanding. Garbage touchdown here, but they all count the same for us. We don't care. So yeah, Winston, he's gonna make these games interesting, but even when they're bad and they only scored 10 points, he lifts everybody up. There was a little diciness in the running back spot here because Ford led them in snaps, 36. Chubb only had 28, but they only gave Ford 2 carries and 3 targets, one of which he caught. Chubb had 16 touches. So when Chubb they're gonna keep giving Chubb the ball, and it's going to move up and up and up, I feel like, every single week. So Ford is going to slide down, even though he's back and he is a decent part and he'll get snaps. He's just not going to get the touches. It's going to be a lot like Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, right? Like, you'll get some catches, maybe a couple runs when Chubb checks out, but Ford is a tough roster right now. So, but yeah, the wide receivers are okay. And Winston just raises everybody. We like it.
Yeah, hopefully they don't make the shift to DTR. We did hear that they should be sticking with Winston for the rest of season. We know DTR has been a little bit banged up, but Winston's just so much dang fun. And I love all the social media coming out of the Browns. It's really been the highlight of the year for Cleveland, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Winston, just a much better quarterback behind a bad O-line than Watson.
Yeah. For the Chargers, meanwhile, quarterback Justin Herbert was taking some shots here in this one. 6 sacks, a couple for Myles Garrett. He was eating on the afternoon, but still passed for 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, another double-digit fantasy points performance from Ladd McConkey as well, who led the team in targets. And welcome back Quentin Johnston, 4 for 118 and 1 on 5 targets. I went and traded for McConkey in my big money league last week.
There you go.
Was that a good idea? And do you also think QJ is back on the flex radar?
Yeah, QJ annoys me. Because
you never liked this guy.
I liked him coming out. And he was such a disappointment. He can't catch the damn ball a lot. So it's annoying with him. But I'll say this, like, you get him the ball in space and he's taking it to the house. That's exactly what he did today. There's blown coverage and he housed it. He did the same thing against our Steelers. So, if he gets open, he will make the catch and run all the way with it. So he is more dangerous than I have to admit. Palmer had a wide open touchdown in this game as well. A couple lapses in coverage from the Browns really lost in this game. And, they just could not get anything going on offense here. Dobbins was great. Another 16 touches and a 100-yard game for him with 2 scores. I saw someone in the chat asking to trade him. I mean, you can, but this is what the Chargers want to do. They want to run the ball a lot, and Dobbins is their guy. So I think for the most part, I'm probably going to be, holding on to Dobbins here. Herbert looked great. This isn't what they want to do every single week. They don't want to throw the ball that much, but when the Browns have such lapses in coverage, you have to. So everyone ate today. DJ Chark's going to be back. I'm interested to see who takes a back seat when that happens, or if anybody does. So if it's DJ, that's 4th in the pecking order here, but he's a veteran guy that they signed this year, and I know they're looking to use him. So is it Palmer? Is it QJ? Because it ain't going to be Ladd. So I don't think so. I think this is interesting here, but it's still Ladd as the guy to roster.
And is Herbo someone we should maybe think about being on the streaming radar now? He's had back-to-back his best performances of the season. Up next, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Atlanta. So I like the matchups against Cincinnati and Baltimore and Atlanta quite a bit. Not as much Tennessee, but beyond that, I think maybe he could be someone, if you don't have an elite quarterback, a guy we can pick up and stream for a couple weeks.
Yeah, especially if you're rostering, Dak, somebody that just got hurt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and Herbert is, he was so hurt to start the year, the high ankle sprain and everything. He's looking better and better the healthier he gets.
100% agreed with you there. Before we keep it moving, I wanted to tell y'all about a great offer we've got for you. You can unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today and use the promo code FPFREE. You'll get access to tools like the same game parlay tool, the prop bet analyzer, and the prize pick prop bet cheat sheet. Don't miss out. Try it for free 1 month now. Available on iOS and Android. Again, that's FP free. And you're going to get 1 month free of the Betting Pros Premium. Boggs, you and I use this tool every single week, whether it's for the football side of things, the MLB side of things, or the college football side of things with their projections. It's a must-have if you're going to make money in sports betting. It's just plain and simple like that.
Nice and easy, easy to use, easy to navigate. Absolutely. Use it whenever you can.
And I say it every week, but being a member of Bills Mafia has to be so much dang fun right now as they advance to 7-2 after a 30-27 win against the Dolphins, courtesy of an absolute gainer of a field goal from Tyler Bass to win it. Still, with that said, Boggs, pretty modest day for everyone on the Buffalo offense, not named Josh Allen, 22.1 fantasy points for him, and Ray Davis, who had a 63-yard reception. No Amari Cooper, but Khalil Shakir continues to be a solid PPR option. Wide receiver 30 in points per game coming in, 11 more points today. What'd you see out of the Bills?
Yeah, I wish we would see more Keon Coleman, especially with Amari Cooper down. But
yeah,
Cooper's going to come back hopefully this week, and I would like to see some production here because I've been rostering him. And when he got traded to Buffalo, I was like, yes, there we go, finally.
Yeah.
And now he was down in this one, so hopefully we see something there. But Ray Davis, man, let's go back to him. Do you know how many snaps he had in this game? Did I already say it?
No, it was not a lot though, was it?
9.
Oh,
9 snaps.
That's a criminal. That's a criminal.
My guy had 9 snaps, 6 touches, and 90 yards in a score in those. We need to get him the ball more. Ty Johnson is a good player in the NFL. But Ray Davis is a great player. So he just needs to see the ball more. 15 touches from Cook is great. Cook is still very good, and he's going to be the lead back. I'm not saying take things away at Cook's expense, but we need Ray Davis on the field more here. So hopefully we start to see that soon.
Yeah, get Ty Johnson off the field. And Ray Davis was one of my favorite sleeper rookies coming into the season. Great story. He was homeless for a while, had really tough time in high school and growing up, goes to Kentucky, transfers there, and was a clinic there. And I think we saw a lot of what we expected to see here this year at the Bills from him last year at Kentucky. So wheels up, I think, on him from a dynasty lens. Like, he's someone I want to roster for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's got a very, very high ceiling in the future. So Ray Davis definitely up, and we need to see way more of him, I feel like.
For the Dolphins, we saw Tua return to form. Tyreek Hill got back to double-digit PPR points, which was nice. And Jalen Waddle finally found the end zone for the first time after what looked like a kind of an injury scare. He came back. He caught that game winner. Still, nobody's meeting their projections except for Devon Achane, who has scored 50 combined points over the past 2 weekends and once again led the team in targets. It's really frustrating, though, if you own one of these wide receivers in fantasy, Boggs.
Yeah, I mean, Hill had 4 catches for 80, so we'd like to see more catches. We'd like to see him get in the end zone, but Hill is fine. Waddle is the one that we worry about, and also, would he lose 17 yards on the last play to go for negative yards in this game? So I understand getting out from under Waddle, or at least benching him at this point because he has been so frustrating. I'm not touching Hill. Achane's the man, So I think Waddle is the one guy I'm actually really worried about.
Yeah, and I was trading for him a couple weeks ago. I thought I was going to be a sneaky son of a gun going around and buying him low, and it doesn't feel like that right now.
He's the type of player that it can pay off. He was a big play guy at Bama, became more of a PPR guy at Miami. So we'll see if this pays off eventually for you. But we're going into week 10 here. It's hard to say. Be patient. Over half the season's over.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have better options, they play the Rams on Monday Night Football next week. I think that's a secondary I don't mind to attack, as we saw just here at the Seahawks. So I think give him one more chance, right, before you're totally taking Waddle out of lineups. But he's definitely on that, I would say, flex radar more than a comfortable sit in, forget it wide receiver too, like we've been valuing him.
Yeah, he's a matchup play at this point for the rest of the season. So good matchup, okay.
Yeah.
But bad matchup, find somebody else.
GMs in both New England and Tennessee were fist pumping as the Carolina Panthers upset the Saints to win 23-22. The Saints outgained the Panthers 427 yards to 246, controlled time of possession for 34 minutes, won the turnover margin, yet still lost. Are there any fantasy winners or losers for New Orleans? And how hot is that seat for Dennis Allen as the Saints fall to 2-7, Boggs?
I mean, he's looking up at the guillotine. His head's already in there. So it's about over for Dennis Allen. You especially losing this game. We saw Michael Thomas tweeting about Derek Carr during the game too, a bunch of nonsense, like anyone's listening to Michael Thomas, but Kamara, man, I mean, broken hand and everything. And he had 35 touches in this game because he is the entirety of the offense. When they get near the goal line, they're handing the ball to Taysom Hill. He had a rushing touchdown, right? So there's not a lot else here.
I think he's the winner. Right? Like if you need someone from this offense, if you need a tight end play, it's Taysom Hill. It was good to see him back, getting some of those goal line touches, and also being used in the receiving game as well. 5 for 4 for 80, which was really nice to see. Or excuse me, sorry, I that was totally wrong stat line for Taysom there, but
he had 4 for 41,
and
a rushing touchdown, 19 yards. So he had 60 yards and a score, and 9 touches, so almost double-digit touches. He's getting in the end zone. He's still a little touchdown dependent, but he's the guy that is getting some stuff right now. So and Jamal Williams down, also Henry Miller back on IR. I mean, what is going on with that guy? He's just never going to get on the field.
Yeah.
So, New Orleans is tough right now, especially when your best playmaker in Chris Olave goes down for, it looks like, an extended period of time. So it's all, unless you're Alvin Kamara, it's pretty bad news in New Orleans.
Bryce Young was back under center for the Panthers in this one, and he was just okay again. I like that he had a little bit of moxie. I thought I really liked his scramble there down close to the red zone. I thought that was something we hadn't seen Bryce Young do a whole lot in the league, but got Xavier Legette into the end zone on 4 for 33. And will all the Chuba Hubbard haters please stand up, as he scored 21.2 fantasy points on 2 touchdowns. And this is his 4th RB1 performance of the season, Sunday night and Monday Night Football pending, of course. What do you think this Carolina offense finally showed us, if anything, this weekend?
I don't think it showed us much of anything different. They've been better when they made the switch to Andy Dalton. So they're improving, but they're still super young, super raw. Legette had the touchdown. That was great. Chuba got in twice, which is awesome if we're rostering him. But Jonathan Brooks didn't play in this game. He's going to be back. What is his role going to be? I really like the fact that Bryce Young targeted Jatavian Sanders in this game. 45 snaps for him, 5 targets, 4 catches, 87 yards. He is a pass catching tight end. The problem is Tremble was gone in this game. Tommy Tremble. Yep. When he came back, he was leading in snaps, and it kind of pushed Sanders to the wayside. So he's kind of if Tremble is down, maybe this performance earns him more snaps, but if Tremble is down, Sanders is a possible start at tight end. So maybe they just need playmakers. We've seen Coker do it. They just traded Deontay. They're giving the ball to Sanders a little bit more. So maybe there's a little optimism here working up, but Bryce Young is still tough. It's hard to start anyone that's not Chuba Hubbard on a week-to-week basis from Carolina.
They've given Tommy Tremble so many chances to be something. I get he's a great blocker, but Sanders is athletic, and it feels like every time we don't see Tremble in the lineup, it's great things for the rookie out of Texas here. But do you think that Carolina could actually trade Chuba Hubbard here? We know Tuesday is going to be a huge, huge day with just the NFL trade deadline happening, nothing else at all.
Yeah, nothing else that matters, right? Yeah. So look, I think it's definitely possible. They're not a good team, and Chuba can bring back a pretty decent draft pick right now. So if someone is willing to pay for a running back, which most teams aren't, especially when you have, we've said this a bunch of times about Kareem Hunt. 32 teams passed on him 2 straight weeks before the Chiefs finally picked him up and just planted him in the lineup. And it's a different formula being the running back in Kansas City than it is in Carolina. But they have Brooks. If they feel like they want to give him an extended look, I definitely think that they can do it. It just depends on, is anyone buying a running back? There are teams that should, Dallas, but I don't know if they're going to. And I kind of like Rico. I kind of hope he doesn't go to Dallas. But there are teams that need him, but I don't think anybody pays up.
Okay. In Music City, the Titans get their second win of the season with a 20-17 overtime thriller against the Patriots. Who would have ever thought we would say that? But it was the usual suspects for the Titans. Tony Pollard, awesome game again, over 150 combined yards. Calvin Ridley back to double-digit fantasy points once again. But Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, I think he is the question mark here. Yeah, 4 straight games with a touchdown. Is there something here with the former Indiana Hoosier?
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, he has been a part of this offense now under 2 coaches, that a guy that just kind of vultures touchdowns, and they obviously draw up plays for him near the goal line, and Rudolph likes him, obviously. So DeAndre Hopkins, no longer on this team, has opened up a lot more snaps for him as well. So yeah, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is a decent addition to your bench if you have just someone that is doing nothing, or someone you've been waiting on, that
like a Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Oh, I would much rather have NWI. Right. Like Keenan Allen is doing absolutely nothing for us right now. It's crazy to think of, but Caleb Williams, we'll get to him in a minute. But not looking good. But Pollard, this game was nuts because Pollard was like maybe he'll play. It's kind of 50-50. We're going to see what he looks like before the game. And then they give him 31 touches. I mean, it went into overtime, but this is like, when Devin Achane on Thursday night was like a 50-50 to play, and they gave him 30. It was kind of a weird situation here, but yeah, Tennessee, Ridley is looking startable for sure. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is definitely, he's touchdown dependent, but he scored touchdowns in 4 straight, and they're drawing up plays for him. So we like it.
Yeah, for New England, Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas, they continue to do their thing. Back-to-back 100-yard games for Ramondre Stevenson. But I want to talk about Drake May. 29 for 41, 206 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but 8 for 95 on the ground. He is currently averaging 18.7 points per game in fantasy points right now in the games he has started and finished. That's QB 11 on a points per game basis. I've been saying it for a couple weeks. I think he's rosterable in 1 QB leagues. Do you feel the same now?
Yeah, I mean, our guy Pat Fitzmaurice, him and I Wormley on the Dynasty Show, and Pat pounded the table for Drake May and his rushing upside, and he maybe even undersold it here because of what Drake May is doing. I mean, I knew he would bail out and run, but I was like, I think they're going to try to nip that in the bud pretty quick. But they don't have playmakers, so he needs to do this a decent amount. So, yeah, he's looking great. He's absolutely rosterable. Some of these quarterbacks are getting really tough to roster right now, but they're always going to be losing. He's going to be making desperation heaves, and he's going to look to run after, first, second look and then go. So, yeah, he's definitely rosterable right now, mainly because of what this team is.
The floor for rushing quarterbacks, it's just so good. I mean, it makes players who maybe aren't the best NFL quarterbacks yet, the Bo Nix of the world, at one point, Daniel Jones, when he had that massive run in 2022, like, it makes these players valuable. So definitely go out, consider Drake May. I think he might be a good ad here. And one thing you can actually use to help you here is the waiver assistant at fantasypros.com/myplaybook, or use the Fantasy Football My Playbook app to instantly view suggestions on who to add or drop. This will break your league down, customizable, and say, hey, this is a good ad for you. You need wide receiver help. Hey, you already have some good quarterbacks. Maybe don't add Drake May. This is going to tell you everything you need to know. So make sure you're checking out the waiver assistant there at fantasypros.com/myplaybook, or on the Fantasy Football My Playbook app to view those suggestions instantly for y'all. And let's keep it moving here. Bogman, in the jungle, the Bengals, they kept their playoff hopes alive with a 41-24 win over the Raiders. Cincinnati fans, they can sleep peaceful at night with their bellies full of Skyline chili. Boggs, what impressed you the most about the Bengals? 5 touchdowns for Joe Burrow. And have you tried Skyline yet?
I've had Skyline. It's fine.
Fine, just fine.
It's fine. Look, the most impressive thing here, even beyond Joe Burrow's 5 touchdowns, which were great, right? He won me flex this week for sure. 5 touchdowns, wrap me up. I'm the highest scorer in that league.
Let's go.
Chase Brown with Zach Moss down. Chase Brown,
oh my gosh,
getting 32 touches, looking like the guy he was in Illinois.
I'm so happy.
Yeah, just looking so good, and hopefully this earns him more touches because coming into the year, I thought Chase Brown was just such a better back than Moss. Moss is a decent back, but I thought Chase Brown was better than him. Brown did not win this job. They didn't like him on the passing downs at all, but that changed this week because it's not just the touches. It was also he had 59 snaps of 74. Travion Williams only had 7.
Wow.
So they do not trust anybody but Moss or Brown. So if Moss is going to be down again, and if he gets hurt again after that, which has kind of been the history of his career in the NFL, unfortunately, is Chase Brown. I think we're looking at a new Joe Mixon here. So hopefully this trend continues because it absolutely worked. Now, look, 5 touchdowns and 30 touches for Brown, and all of this was against the Raiders. So we do have to pump the brakes just a little bit because they play Baltimore on Thursday. It's definitely not going to look that good again, but it looked pretty good. I like the way this Cincy offense is rolling right now.
Agreed. The Raiders continue to Raider meanwhile, and they're doing their best to get the number 1 overall pick, or at least get into contention of it, as they're now 2-7. Gardner Minshew was benched for Desmond Ridder. Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, they've been pretty good for fantasy football. 8 for 105 for Myers, 5 for 45, and a garbage time touchdown for Brock Bowers in all the leagues I'm playing against him, which was awesome.
I have him everywhere. I got him everywhere. I needed it.
I was playing against him in every league I don't have him in, I felt like. So, that was awesome. But the backfield kind of getting muddied a little bit now. Alexander Madison's been a start, but we saw Abdullah get some cracks. He's really taken over the pass catching work here. And Zamir White, 6 for 10 and 1 in this one.
Yeah, Abdullah had more snaps, likely due to just him getting down so fast, right?
Okay.
Being the guy. We saw this happen with the Jags a couple weeks ago. Tank Bigsby got fewer snaps than Dearness Johnson. Everybody was kind of panicky. It was about game script. That was this too. I mean, they benched Gardner Minshew. They went to Desmond Ridder. It doesn't matter, man. None of them are good in Vegas right now. So the guys that you can start are Myers and Bowers. And then after that, if you want to roll Madison, he's going to be touchdown dependent. And they gave Zamir White the touchdown near the goal line this week. So just less and less every week do we need to trust anybody in the running game for the Raiders, anyone passing for the Raiders. It's just Myers. It's just Bowers right now. It's tough.
They're on a bye this week. Are you rostering Madison through the bye in a 12-team PPR league?
Probably not. If there's someone available for me that I can pick up, even if it's cheap, I think you can dust Madison. I think it's done.
Okay. In Denver, a lot of bettors thought the Broncos could cover the spread against Baltimore, but that wasn't the case at all as the Ravens win 41-10. 3 touchdowns for Lamar Jackson, continuing to build his back-to-back MVP case. 5 for 127 and 2 for Zay Flowers. Right when his fantasy managers were getting a little bit nervous about this Deontay Johnson trade. I love how that always happens. And Derrick Henry has already cashed his season prop totals of 10 rushing touchdowns and 1,000 rushing yards. And he is now the RB1 overall on the season. This is crazy, dude. Shout out to Worm again. He was all over Derrick Henry coming into the year, and I was doubting it a little bit. But
you're going to give the Ravens fan credit? I was on Derrick Henry as well, and so Pizza Pia, nobody was higher than Pizza Pia on Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, when you have a Hall of Fame back that is a freak of nature, go to the most running team, with Lamar Jackson back there, it's just a simple success, right? It's easy. And I mean, Derrick Henry is proving it right now. And I was surprised at how low he was going. Just a better team, better context, a team that scores more, a team that holds the ball more, all than Tennessee. Tennessee was a mess. So I love this for Derrick Henry. He is, I hate that it's improving the Ravens, but Derrick Henry is an absolute stud.
Kamara, Barkley, Mixon, and Henry. I feel like that's kind of the top clear 4 running backs right now. Would you put anyone else in that group? Bijan, Brees? Is there anyone else you think?
Bijan right now, because I think Bijan and Brees right now. Especially Bijan now that Algier is not getting as much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that's a pretty good top end of running back, and healthy Jonathan Taylor's pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
But that's healthy Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And who knows from a week to week basis.
For the Broncos, shout out Cortland Sutton, 7 for 122. Javonte Williams in double-digit points again. And Bo Nix with another borderline QB1 game here, Bogman.
Yeah, Bo Nix has been good. He's been quietly the best rookie quarterback statistically. Obviously, we all know Jaden Daniels is not only doing amazing things like the Hail Mary and winning you fantasy leagues and stuff, but he's also winning games, unlike Bo Nix and the Broncos. But Bo Nix caught the touchdown here. Looks pretty decent, getting Cortland back involved. Ever since Cortland ate us that donut, he's put back-to-back 100-yard weeks up, so we like that. It's just tough to know who else. Javonte is the guy in the backfield, right? But there's just not another target right now. It's Bo Nix, it's Javonte, it's Cortland, and there's not a lot else outside of that. Bailey was having a couple good weeks, but then LJ Humphrey was having a couple good weeks. We saw Troutman pump up for the tight end week and do nothing this week. So, the Broncos offense is tough, but at least Bo Nix has them viable. We like that.
Agreed with you there. Let's move into the 4 o'clock slate here. It was a beatdown from the Cardinals, 29-9 against the Bears. They started off hot, but now they've come back down to earth and are just 4 for 4. And the Cardinals 5-4 now. Kyler Murray, really bad game from him from a fantasy perspective, but this is the Bears defense, right? And this is kind of what we know. You have to run against them. It's hard to throw against this secondary. So do you think that's kind of what it is for Kyler Murray here? He doesn't have the best schedule moving forward, so I know a lot of people are trying to sell him. Do you think we maybe missed the window?
I want Kyler. So
still,
yeah, I do. Both these quarterbacks, I'm more worried about Caleb, but this is frustrating, man. They couldn't get the ball to the wide receivers at all. Marvin Harrison was the only wide receiver to catch a ball in this game, and he only got 2, right? It's just a bad game offensively for the Cardinals. Weird weather in this game. They had to close the roof because there was hail. Strange, just a weird game. And also, like, Connor had a great game, 18 carries for 107 yards, and he didn't get the touchdown. DeMarcado got one on the big splash play, and then Benson got the other one. This is just a weird game, I feel like. So I'm kind of I still want Kyler. I still think he's going to be pretty good, and he's going to get some division games. And we just saw Seattle and the Rams tear each other up. So secondaries aren't that good. Even the Niners secondary is not that good.
We did see Rome Odunze have a semi-breakout game, 5 for 104, 7 targets for him. But DJ Moore had 9 targets, didn't do much with it. Keenan Allen had 10 targets again, didn't do much with it. I don't know what to do with the Bears, man. Like, can we really keep rostering Keenan at this point?
No, Keenan can go. DJ Moore,
10 targets though. Like, are we gonna find anyone else?
Yeah, but these
they're
are
garbage
Caleb Williams targets.
Yeah, they're garbage targets. Yeah,
they're 7 feet over his head. They're not catchable. Caleb looks miserable right now. The O-line is bad, and he took 6 more sacks. It's a combo of both of them. It's not just that the O-line's bad. It's that he is trying to hold on to the ball to make a big play like he did in college, and that stuff just isn't viable in the NFL. So I last week I said I wasn't worried about Caleb. I am now, because I don't think the Cardinals have a very good pass rush, and they got to him 6 times in this game. He's got to get that ball out quicker, or they got to give the ball to DeAndre Swift more if they're going to want to win games. So it's been tough recently for Caleb. Hopefully he'll get it back on track, because he has the targets, and this offense is built around him specifically to make it work. And he is the weak link right now. So it's just really tough. I'm not doing anything with Moore. You can dump Allen.
Would you buy more if you don't have him? New England, Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit next up for him.
No.
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 Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to go and pay for him and then have him do nothing again because he just has not been very productive this season. So
Okay.
I don't think I want to go buy him. I don't want to drop him. I want to see him get better, but I can't trust that it's definitely going to happen. So I can't recommend going out to buy him. Hopefully this is a breakout for Odunze and we see it, but Cole Kmet blanked again. It's bad right now on offense for Chicago. And the only guy that is, definitely startable on a week-to-week basis is DeAndre Swift, of all people, which I did not think was going to be happening.
Yeah.
So I gotta, I'm taking the L on the Bears offense this year. It does not look good.
Yeah, you're starting Swift. You can still roll out TJ Moore as a wide receiver too, high-end
Still gonna
flex.
get targets.
Yeah.
Even the bad targets, he's still getting a bunch of them every week. But yeah, it's just not good in Chicago right now.
Let's go to the home of the Philadelphia cheesesteak, the Eagles. They win 28-23.
They tried to lose.
Oh, yeah. This was a game. They were up very, very, what was it? Maybe 22-0. I think that was the score, 22-0. And then Jacksonville, they get back in this. They get a touchdown. They get Saquon fumbles it. Very debatable fumble there as he falls to the ground after kind of being tripped up by a Jacksonville player.
We all know Saquon can do no wrong. We are.
Yeah. Yes. What are your takeaways here from this one, Bob? I mean, big day for Devonta Smith. We don't know the status of A.J. Brown going forward. We did see Jahan Dotson reel in a nice catch, but nothing really notable for the Eagles other than that Saquon is he's a beast, man. He is so good. I wish I had more Saquon. I wish I had more Jalen Hurts. I thought maybe the tush push would fall off, and it did get stopped twice in this game by Jacksonville. So shout out to them.
It's not as good without Kelsey, but he's out there
still
destroying
good.
idiots' phones.
Yeah.
So we like that. But man, the Philly is still very good offensively. Saquon is the dude. And he's just so much better in Philly. How about a reverse jumping jack over a guy? Like, just insane, the things that he's doing. Devontae Smith, too, looked like mini Randy Moss on that one-handed toe drag catch. That was an unbelievable catch. Obviously, A.J. Brown was hurt in this game. Didn't produce very much for us. Still missing Dallas Goedert a little bit as well. But, yeah, it's the usual suspects. It's wheels up on Hurts. Barkley's the guy. Smith is startable. A.J. Brown startable. Jacksonville, though. Ooh, Lord, it was ugly on offense again.
What do we do here? 6 for 31 for Trevor Lawrence, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, or 2 interceptions, one when it really mattered as well. Travis Etienne, just 3 carries for him. We saw Dearness get work. We saw Bigsby get work and really get no yards in this one. Evan Ingram was kind of the one reliable piece here, 5 for 45. We kind of knew BTJ was banged up coming into this. You were kind of starting him at your own risk. 4 targets, 2 receptions, 22 yards. Parker Washington, though, I didn't hate what we saw for him. 6 targets, 3 for 41. I think, like, for Parker Washington, the former Penn State Indy line, that's kind of all we could hope for, right?
Yeah. I think it was a good game for him, but it was just bad for everybody else, including Trevor Lawrence, right? He ran in a touchdown, 16 of 31, not efficient at all. I think did he run in 2 touchdowns? I think he ran in 2. But ETN, the rumor has been, and this is why I don't necessarily want to dump him immediately, is that maybe they're playing him less to move him at the deadline. So maybe that could all be conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat
Is
stuff.
this a contract year for him? Am I right on that?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
We're close. We're getting close. Though. We're getting close to it.
For sure. And Bigsby's their guy, and they like Dearness Johnson in the receiving role. So they have the guys that they want. Keelan Robinson obviously missed this game. They can add somebody else off the wire, off the practice squad, whatever. So I do think that is a possibility. So I don't want to dump ETN quite yet just to see if he lands somewhere else. But it's Brian Thomas and Evan Ingram. That's it. That's all you can really start from this team. Now that Kirk's down and, Bigsby, you want to start every week, but he may be more matchup based because, they abandoned the run wholly and completely in this game because they got down so big and that defense is miserable. I think Doug Peterson's out pretty quick. It might be this week, but it needs to be soon. Maybe he lasts to the end of the year because Con is just so tired of firing coaches mid-season and stuff. But nothing looks good in Jacksonville right now. Defense made some plays to keep them in this game, but that was more about Philly giving it away to me than anything else.
Does it get better, you think, without Peterson going? Minnesota, Detroit on tap. So I don't really love this offense going against a Detroit defense that is still looking good despite no Aiden Hutchinson. And Minnesota, I know they've stepped back a little bit, but I mean, B-Flow is still getting those boys up and ready every single week.
Yeah, I don't like starting guys against those teams.
Yeah,
especially the way they're playing right now. So, yeah, it's not good in Jacksonville.
ETN, by the way, this was his final year under contract, but they did pick up the club option. Remember, like the Steelers didn't pick up Najee's next year, so still could be tradable there. But good point out that for you to keep ETN on your roster. Let's see what happens here, and
if he doesn't get traded, feel free to dump him.
Really, you're really
look. If they're not restricting him to trade him, then he's just the third guy. So. Bigsby had more carries. He was less efficient. Maybe they go back to ETN, but he's doing nothing for you right now. He's Alexander Madison.
Oh, jeez. Speaking of weird games, this one in Lambeau Field, bad weather, bad play. I felt like at different times from at least the Packers side of things, they lose this one 14-24. Jared Goff still super efficient, 18 for 22, 145 yards, 1 touchdown. Big game for Monty on the ground, 17 for 73. Jahmyr Gibbs found the end zone once again. Any big takeaways from the Lions side of things? It was great to see Montgomery getting involved in the pass game a little bit. Gibbs had a couple targets again, so good to see that return. Good to see ARSB find the end zone, but still disappointing for guys like Laporta.
Yeah, I mean, Laporta is super frustrating, right?
He's got to be one of the biggest busts, right?
He is for sure. And last week we were like, okay, 6 for 48 and a score. Maybe we're getting something here. And then back to 2 for 28, 1 for 25 the week before that. He is just touchdown dependent, which is what most tight ends are, which makes him a coin flip play on a week-to-week basis. So he is not the guy that you paid for sure. So Monter St. Brown continues to be very, very good, and just another crazy toe drag touchdown for him. That was nuts. But they go by the run game and they pass as little as they need to. And they just didn't need to pass that much in this game to be successful because Green Bay couldn't get anything going with the gimpy Jordan Love. So, Detroit will take everything you give them.
Josh Jacobs, great for Green Bay, 13 for 95 on the ground. Did get involved in the passing game a little bit. We touched on this last week, but I think it's safe to, outside of Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft, if you want to hang on to Dobbs, that's fine. But Wick should be off your roster. I know Watson had a couple catches in this one. He should be off your roster. And just hope for better times for Jaden Reed, like 5 for 113. That's kind of what you were hoping. He had that one big catch right before halftime. But I mean, this is the Packers offense right now, right? Like, I mean, obviously the touchdowns are going to improve for Jordan Love. 0 touchdowns, pretty big outlier for a guy who's been averaging about 3 touchdowns per game in his healthy performances this season. But I mean, get these Packers wide receivers scrubs off my team. I'm done.
Yeah,
they're garbage.
It's musical chairs at this point. It's Jaden Reed, like you said, and then maybe it's Dobbs. I would put Dobbs at 2.
Yep.
But Kraft is usually going to get those. 4 for 34, didn't get in the end zone.
I love the QB sneak they ran with Tucker.
Oh,
Kraft. That was awesome.
That was good. Yeah, he went in motion, ran right under the center, took the ball and went. It was a great play. But yeah, even Josh Jacobs, who had a good game, Emmanuel Wilson vultured that touchdown late, right? So there's frustration here, but you're right. I mean, if you want to cut Watson, do it. If you should have cut Wicks already because he's just not getting that many snaps. But if you haven't yet, go ahead. It's just not working out there. It's Jaden Reed, it's Tucker Kraft, it's Josh Jacobs, and Jordan Love. Those are the guys you want to start. Yep. Everybody else is tough. It's matchup dependent, and they're all touchdown dependent.
Yeah, and if you want to drop Dobbs on the bye this week, I don't care if you do. Like, he's probably someone I would consider holding on to just because he has been getting the targets, but only 5 this week after causing a bit of ruckus there earlier in the season, kind of getting the squeaky wheels treatment. So I don't know. It's tough. You got to cross your fingers. Pray. I don't know. Pray to put out some sage. Pray to some fantasy gods if you're playing these Packers wide receivers. But that's pretty much how it is.
Light a candle at the altar of the God of Stat Corrections.
Yes,
that's right.
And we'll round it out here in Seattle, where this game was just going into overtime as we went live tonight. It looks like the Rams did end up pulling this one off in OT, 26-20. Geno Smith, big game from him, 363 yards, 3 touchdowns. Had a couple of terrible picks, though. Kenneth Walker, 8 on the ground, 25 for 83. Did get involved in the receiving game once again, which was great to see. But JSN's got to be the story for the Seattle Seahawks, right? This was the true breakout performance. 7 for 180 and 2. Tyler Lockett did find the end zone himself, but is this the jumping off point, or do you think this is just the one game outlier without DK?
I don't know that this is a one game outlier because they left stuff out there. There were a couple balls that were over his head that were underthrown.
13 targets.
Was more that out there for JSN to get. So just an enormous game here. Hopefully he is, now that he's had this game, Geno goes, okay, I know I can throw him a 500 ball and he's probably going to come down with it.
Yeah.
So hopefully we just get more targets out of this game for him because this is huge. And apologies if you played against him because he ruined your week. 7 for 180 and 2 scores is unbelievable. Lockett, like you said, got in there. Metcalf is going to come back. He's not going to have this type of JSN's not going to have this type of performance, but this was huge. And, another decent game for Ken Walker as well. They lost this game because Geno Smith was throwing those 3 picks. One of them went for a touchdown. He took 7 sacks in this game. I mean, the Rams defensive line has completely transformed from the beginning of the year to what they are now. They are a dangerous defensive line with Fisk and Verse. But this was a weird game offensively for this team, but JSN was huge and Geno got it going late, but not when it mattered because they ended up losing.
I will say, I don't think there's any chance you're really going to be able to get Kyren Williams cheap ever. This is the cheapest you're ever going to be able to get him, though. He didn't find the end zone for the first time all season. 22 for 69 on the ground. Did have a reception for 26 yards. I don't think the Kyren Williams manager is going to give him up because he's probably in a really good position if he drafted him probably in the 2nd round. But it doesn't hurt to ask. I think maybe send out some offers, reasonable offers. Don't be sending out, Tank Bigsby for him or anything. But your thoughts on Kyren Williams here. Cooper Kupp, also a big game, 11 for 104. Demarcus Robinson found the end zone twice, 6 for 94. I imagine one of those touchdowns came in overtime once we went live.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson with the huge. That was the one I was talking about when Deepak was leaving. I said, what a catch to end this game. Unbelievable catch right there. And Puka got kicked out of this game for throwing a punch. Stupid. I was so lucky. I put Stevenson in for him at the last minute, kind of right before kickoff. And Stevenson ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. He had an Alexander Madison type stat line, but he got in the end zone twice. So we like that. But yeah, Kyron's going to be fine. It's my fault he didn't score. I picked him to score on the Monday show on Out of Bounds with Joe and Welsh. So that's why that will be my complaint line is that Kyron not scoring because we have this touchdown contest. I'm in the lead by a couple scores.
Let's go. There we go, Bugs. Let's go.
Yeah. But Kupp had the huge game. Demarcus Robinson has 4 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Very much an outlier. I'm not going to sit here and tell you go start him or anything, but he's getting 9 targets. If something happens with Puka again, or if Cooper Kupp doesn't play or something, he's involved. Stafford likes him, so it's working right now. But you're not going to the fab looking for Demarcus Robinson. You're throwing $5 at most on a guy like him. So and that's to drop like a Keenan Allen that's doing nothing. You know what I mean?
Jordan Whittingham,
Jordan Whittington. So somebody, I mean, just someone at the end of your bench. But yeah, this was a really good game for the Rams, and unlike Geno, no sacks for Matt Stafford, who does not move well back there at all, but did not take a sack, did throw a pick, but 2 touchdowns and the game winner.
Am I imagining it, or is this Puka's 2nd time he's gotten thrown out of a game? I thought he got thrown out last year too. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I feel like
what? I just don't remember. You probably are right, but I just don't remember him getting tossed. But it was stupid.
Puka, come on!
What are you doing throwing fists for? Especially punching a guy in the helmet is still the dumbest stuff.
You're not going to hurt him, right?
Thinking?
Yeah. That was like last night. There was a punch thrown in a NASCAR race, and it was the worst punch I've ever
Oh,
seen.
he's the weakest limp-wristed punch I've ever he threw it like falling backwards. Like, what was he doing? He's like, I was gonna do a lot more. I saw that highlight on Sports
Okay,
Center.
I'm glad.
I was like, what is this guy doing? Yeah, that was and I have no context of what happened at all. I had Sports Center on my TV, and it just kept replaying last night while I was doing stats. So yeah,
I'm glad that's the NASCAR highlight that gets on Sports Center. Is the worst punch I've ever seen. I mean, Puka Nacua looked like he was throwing a haymaker compared to what Chandler Smith was doing out there to Colt Custer on Saturday night.
Better fights from people that have never fought ever on Instagram or whatever.
That Ravens fan who's doing about 40 to life now after.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. Get rid of that idiot. I mean, there are plenty of fans, we all don't agree. There's angry fans, but we all like football, man. Relax.
Yeah, dude. We're out here to have a good time, and that's what we do here at Fantasy Pros. We have a great time, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to the audio feeds as well. That'll do it for us tonight on the Fantasy Pros Fantasy Football Podcast. Until next time, like this video if you enjoyed it. Plus, download the My Playbook app. For Scott Bogman, I'm Seth Woolcock. Thanks for watching. Take care, y'all.